Hi everyone, this is Maryann here from Revealing Light Tarot, Astrology and Spirituality. How are you? Wherever you are in the world when you're watching, a huge shout out to you. I want to particularly thank those that have commented, that like and subscribe to the channel, and also those who have sent through donations. They're not expected, but gratefully received when I get them. Okay, before we start on the readings, I just want to quickly talk a little bit about the astrology. It's the 20th of November here in Australia. In the Northern Hemisphere, of course, you're 15 hours behind us, so much of this will be current for your Sunday and my Monday. So the moon is in Aquarius, and that is really shining a light on what we collectively want, and what we collectively desire and need, and a lot of the issues that are arising at the moment, particularly around the war in the Middle East and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, really the horrors that we're seeing unfold before us, and the degradation of our politics, which is impacting and in return also degrading our democracies. This isn't reflecting the majority. What is a democracy? It's majority rule. And the collective is starting to want another story. They're starting to demand a new way of doing things. And of course, when we have Pluto moving finally out of Capricorn into Aquarius, the focus becomes on what the majority wants. And in many ways, when we look at the violent rhetoric, that we see going on in parts of the US, these are megaphones, and I love that saying. I grew up with that saying, empty vessels make the most sound. These are people who are, quite, I'm not going to judge them. I'm just going to say that they're at a different place on their journey to someone like me. And, where they spout violence, and it's not the way that we do things, is it really? And generally they're speaking to smaller crowds, and they get a lot of media attention, unfortunately. And the media is only owned in the US, for example, by six companies. And so there's not a lot of choice, and there's not a lot of independence either. The media is concerned with the sound bites and the clickbait. And so they focus in on this din, these megaphones. They don't necessarily reflect the broader population. So that's something to remember. The Sun is conjunct Mars, so there's a blending of the two energies. I mean, you don't get much more action-oriented than the Sun, I am, or Mars, I will. And so it's time for action, and we're seeing that as we look around our politics in many ways. We're seeing a lot of action taking place. The Sun is trining Neptune, so again, I always talk about something coming into form. What are we bringing into form? Well, it is the essential, our essence, our essential beings. And again, I go back to that Aquarian energy that's really overlaying, or will begin to overlay, everything. It's starting to make itself seen at this time. The Sun is sextiling Pluto, which means there's help, if you like, to do that deep dive. If we're talking about the individuals, there could be some introspection, going fairly deep in that, and you're getting help to do that, because again, this is remaking who we are, who we want to be. And Mercury is sextiling Venus, so again, this is a good time for relationships, for communicating within relationships. The Mercury is also trining Chiron, for also speaking up about what is bothering you. Where is your Chiron being the wounded healer, Mercury being communication. what is your wound? What do you need to say? You know, if you're worried about what someone thinks, then say it in another way. But do yourself a favour and put yourself first. And we get Mars trining Neptune. Again, this I am, I will bring something different into form. So this is granted a pretty tawdry chapter, certainly, all in our politics generally, because what's going on in the US is going on in pockets of my country as well. And it's starting to really sound pretty immature and going down the wrong path. Let's just put it that way. And the Mars, of course, is sextiling Pluto. So again, we're getting a deep dive for what? For the buried truth. Okay, today I want to take you on a little bit of a reading tour. So Minnesota, Michigan, courts found that Trump could be on his own party's primary ballot, but left open the question on whether he was qualified to stand on the federal ballot, for example. In Colorado, the state, as Professor Lawrence Tribe from Harvard tells us, Colorado state law actually does allow to find someone ineligible to stand for presidency. Its state laws actually do that. Now, it was an interesting ruling. When I heard it, I thought, wow. So the ruling was the Colorado court found that former President Trump, I just call him Trump with a small t, was found guilty of insurrection. That was a factual finding. However, there was a legal finding that he could still be on the ballot because the president isn't considered an officer in that 14th Amendment. As soon as I heard that, I thought, wow, intuitively, that's just not correct. I'm applying intuition to legal matters here. But as I listened to the experts, they're saying, we don't understand this. And then I thought, what is this judge doing here? What exactly is the judge doing here? Because automatically it goes to the Supreme Court of Colorado for a finding. And in those other states where people are saying, oh, no, it will go to the Supreme Court. Now, when I read on this before, I said in Colorado, the matter would go before the court. It has standing. And that's exactly what happened. And then I said eventually it goes to the Supreme Court. That's where I'm not clear on what the outcome is. I needed clarifying cards, and I rather hoped he would be found ineligible, but we'll take another look. Okay. Will they even take the case, I think, is the question I should have asked. And if so, how will they rule? That's SCOTUS. Okay. In Israel and Palestine, it's similarly, as I call it, a hellscape. I read a Washington Post journalist report. He went into Gaza, and the stench of decaying bodies, thousands and thousands buried under the rubble. I would assume some hostages as well, because there are other reports that bombs fell on Israel's own command outpost, just outside of Gaza, and there's a lot of truth that is about to come forward around how Netanyahu has responded, what has been in proportion. And what has been a collateral damage, again, a war crime. And so we'll look at what is the full story. I'm just going to pull cards on that because remember, we're at a time where corruption is exposed. Now, Netanyahu's 24,000 Israelis marched to Tel Aviv to say, Netanyahu, you are not prioritizing hostages. Netanyahu's already up on fraud and bribery charges. I want to see if he'll be removed after the war. There's increasing calls for how this has played out, how it happened, how it's played out, and what on earth has he done? Because I think when the full story is revealed of, I'm just going to say, yeah, Hamas war crimes, absolutely. But we've had war crimes now. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have been killed in this. And that's beyond what the international humanitarian laws allow. There's a ceasefire the US brokered for 5 days. Now, I said that the one who can make a difference here in terms of a pausing or a ceasefire is the US. They've brokered. There'll be hostage releases. I said some hostages will come home, some won't, and we'll see what's next there. So I'm using, gosh, what is this deck called? Someone put it in the comments. I've completely forgotten, but I do know I'm using the Rider-Waite. So the Radiant Rider-Waite. Someone, if you remember this deck, please put it in the comments. If I remember afterwards, I will also put it in the comments. All right, so let's get going on this reading. It's just a time of, it's like we're being hit with the truth. And of course, when we're hit with the truth, we have to work out how we're going to respond. Remember, democracy survives, and the health of democracy is based upon people speaking out. If enough people speak out, then governments change, governments are held accountable. That's the way it works. Okay. Gosh, I'm being very philosophical on a Monday morning. Let's get started to the Supreme Court in Colorado. Apparently, according to Professor Tribe, the brief is actually due today in Australia. It will be on Monday morning in the US. Okay, how is the Supreme Court? If someone is found guilty of insurrection, yet the president is not an officer, and yet the other parts of the Constitution say that he or she is, how will the Supreme Court of Colorado rule on whether Trump is eligible to stand for president? How will the Supreme Court rule on whether Trump is eligible? Will they rule that Trump is eligible to stand for president? Will the Colorado Supreme Court rule that Trump is eligible to stand for president? Show me clearly. Will the Colorado State Court rule Trump is eligible to stand for president? Okay, so I'm getting the Eight of Swords here. This is restriction. That's signifier card. And then we get the Princess of Pentacles moving forward. So, okay, moving forward, restriction and then moving forward. All right, let's see. The Four of Pentacles, holding back, standing one's ground. That's at the base of this reading. The Four of Pentacles is generally, it's like, no, it's a barrier. It's withholding something. But let's keep going. The Prince of Wands talks about movement forward in the past. But that horse is moving away from these cards. Come on down and have a look. Okay, so we get these cards here. I think there's going to be not dissension, but differing points of view. That's what I'm getting so far. All right, so we get the Seven of Pentacles. Will they rule him eligible? So we get having to go back and look at something again. That's crowning the reading. We get the Sun in the immediate future. That's full illumination. It's interesting. We've got a Colorado court finding factually he was guilty of insurrection. The Ten of Cups, and more is going to come out as well. We've got the Ten of Cups, that's my signifier card for the voters. And we get the King of Wands. This is bravery, stepping forward. This is the lawmakers. All right, let's keep going. We've got the Chariot in the hopes and fears. And the outcome card is the Six of Wands. This is victory. Now, my question was, will they rule he's ineligible? We've got the Fool clarifying that. New starts. And the Two of Cups. Commitments, contracts with others. And then we get the Princess of Swords. A truth coming forward. I think they go... Oh, another ace. I did see the Ace of Cups in my clairvoyant vision. Look, according to these outcome cards, I've got a yes clarified by a major arcana, which is a yes. My question was, do they find him ineligible? Or what was the question? Do they find him... oh, God, what was my question? I've forgotten. Do they find him ineligible to stand for president? I'm going to do some clarifiers. We get the Ace of Wands. In either case, it's going to the endings and beginnings, the World and the Tower, and of course a crossroads. So I'm going to do some clarifying cards because I want to be sure on this one. I think in any case it's going... Certainly the underlying energy tells us that this is a very important question around this insurrection. In any case, it's going to the Supreme Court is what I see. Okay, will they show me, will they find him eligible? Can you clarify this win and new start? Will they find him eligible to stand for president? No. Okay, so no. And the Emperor president. And then we get him. Deception. No, they find him ineligible. Is what I see. They find him ineligible. In any case, it's going to the Supreme Court. So let's have a look at that. More will come out in this Supreme Court of Colorado. You know what's likely to emerge? I know why I've got the Four of Pentacles. This is withholding the National Guard. This is withholding help. So when it goes to the Supreme Court, one of the arguments will be around how did this judge in the lower court find him guilty of or factually responsible for an insurrection. There's going to be a lot about what he didn't do to stop the riot at the Capitol. There's going to be a lot of that come forward. Okay, and of course the deception here around that the election was stolen, and those that were found guilty of sedition being convinced that by Trump that the election was stolen. A lot of this is coming out. You see these sextiles, which is the harmonious flows, the little bit of help to Pluto, Mars, all of this. It's like the truth is emerging. So, okay, that's the Supreme Court. I think that they will say that he is an officer, and she had the power. He had the power to stop this because he was an officer under the whatever 14th Amendment definition. So this is what happens here. Okay. So, all right, I hope I'm right. I'm not always right, obviously. I think I said the government's going to shut down, and it stayed open. Well, the first reading that I did. All bets are off as to the next time, whether it will shut down or not. Okay, let's have a look at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court. Also, I looked at I think it was Cash Peter's last reading, and he remember I've been saying that he's in this head cognitive decline, and Cash Peter's pictures showed his head all full of God knows what and going one way and his feet going the other, and of course he's heading toward a cliff. I wonder if that's in relation to his health, because I do pick up a health concern for him. I think it's sometime next year. Okay. Many of you have, I think I quoted an astrologer that picked up heart and cognitive issues. Of course, it could be something like a stroke. anyway, let's take a look here. All right, so the Supreme Court, remembering that you've got, 3 appointed Trump judges there and another 2 that are very much can be seen as radical right. Okay, so let's have a look. But this is the rule of law here. This is overturning the rule of law, as I keep saying. I'm seeing a stairway, and it's like high office, the Supreme Court. They're supposed to take these decisions. So will they even hear this? I guess is the first. They're supposed to hear these sorts of matters. Will the Supreme Court hear on appeal whether or not Trump will be ineligible? Let's just keep it ineligible to stand for president. Will they take this case? Will the Supreme Court take the case on whether Trump is ineligible to stand for president? Ooh, a lot of anxiety here. A lot of anxiety. Okay, will they hear the case? Show me clearly, please. Endings and beginnings. Yeah, okay, so it's major. It's a major matter here. We all know. We saw with our eyes. We know what he did. Does he get to have another go at it? And perhaps succeed this time? We get wish fulfillment here. The 9 of Wands. In the past, barriers. Guardrails. It's the card for guardrails. Princess of Swords has come up a couple of times. It's the card for seditious. My card that says this is someone who's seditious. We get the Queen of Wands in the immediate future. That's interesting. The women on the Supreme Court. Will they take it? The Moon card, much is below the surface here. Again, the Moon in Aquarius. The Supreme Court is supposed to reflect the law, supposed to reflect the Constitution. The Princess of Cups, something unusual, expect something unusual, and we get bickering. Not all Supreme Court justices maybe want to take this. I think, yeah, it's a heart, like it's a big one. Something coming to fruition in time, and abuse of power, and temperance, moderation. I think they do take it. Not all want to take it, and so there may be even. Do we know if some say no, we don't want, and then the majority say we do? I think they have to take it. The Knight of Cups and the 3 of Wands and the 8 of Pentacles, they do take it. I do see they do take it. All right, now the next question is, how do they rule? This is what I keep getting at, like a cloudy kind of outcome on it. Let's see if I can see clairvoyantly. How are they likely to rule? Of course, I'm just seeing... It's like all that wood that person was carrying, it just gets dropped on the fire, but it's coming in disorderly. I think you will get, it's not a unanimous thing. Okay, how will the Supreme Court rule? That's what I want to see. How will the Supreme Court rule? There's fighting in amongst the justices about what is to be done here. That's the energy I see or feel. See and feel. Okay, will the Supreme Court justices find Trump ineligible to stand for presidency? Will the Supreme Court of the US find Trump ineligible to stand for the presidency? Will the Supreme Court of the US find Trump ineligible to stand for presidency? 8 of Cups, loss, walking away. I always used to get that for Trump, that card. And death, the end. The death card comes up a lot for Trump too. Is this where the pedal hits the metal? Is this why I don't see, suddenly he's there and then he's not? Is this what this is, or is it his literal death? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Anyway, the Ace of Wands, new starts. That's a pretty certain new start, isn't it? That's someone fairly triumphantly holding that staff of wands, that Ace of Wands aloft. Okay, so new starts are around this. Endings and then new starts. Three of Swords in the past. Heartbreak, loss, grieving, betrayal can also be indicated in this card. It's in the past. The Prince of Wands in the sky, movement forward. Now the horse is heading in the future direction, not the past. Okay. All right, let's have a look at the Five of Wands. It's the energy I see. Look, the wood. It's sort of like not falling evenly. I just feel dissension. Two of Cups, commitments and contracts with one another. Two justices, and I know who they are. Perhaps Alito and Thomas are seeking to muddy the waters. Four of Cups, disappointment, 3 lost, 1 remaining. So this is decided by one justice. Like there's whatever it is, 4 and then 1. It's like they do. They do find him ineligible. The King of Swords is total down the line law. Full illumination of the law. No if, buts, maybes. And the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles, legacies, can be also money on the court and seduction. But they are all yes cards. Yeah. 2 do not. There is a decision, could even be 3 do not. But 1 does. One does rule with the others, giving the Supreme Court a majority. I'm happy with these cards. I'm just gonna say I think he's found ineligible to stand by the Supreme Court. There's a lot of, I would just call it crap, that is going to go on behind the scenes, and also what happens after that. Well, that'll be for another reading. That could be the outbreak of these kind of megaphone people. Violence. But we won't go there. Let's just have a look at this. Okay. All right, now before I finish, I want to go to Netanyahu. So the horror and hellscape, the not protecting Israel from the beginning, from the Hamas attacks, and the taking of hostages despite intelligence warnings, and then completely destroying Gaza. And I'm just going to say, I question everything I see coming out of his mouth or his ministers' mouths. I think I'm amongst a lot of people that are not convinced by anything he says. Okay, so what has he done? What has he done that is not proportional? What has Netanyahu done in Gaza? Can you show me what is the full story of Netanyahu's response, which is not proportional? I would argue before anyone, it's not proportional. There are suburbs, houses razed, many tens of thousands killed, innocent civilians killed. It's a horror hellscape. What is the story? Can you show me the full story of his response? And I think hostages will have died from Israeli bombs. The Ace of Swords, the truth will emerge, and this is what I feel. It will emerge, and so I wonder who will be on the right side of that truth. The Ten of Wands, it's an ending of a cycle. This is Aquarius energy. The end of something. Judgment and inevitability that he will be judged. The devil is in the background. The devil, whether it's trying to hold on to power, greed, the truth will come out. The death is in the sky. The death is in the sky. Death surrounds this, whichever way you look. We have the Empress card in the near future. Something coming to fruition in time. Some sort of season or harvest. It's also my card for Russia. The Princess of Swords, she's coming up a lot. It traditionally is that light bulb moment. She's carrying the Ace of Swords. She's carrying the truth. But we get to the truth through somebody who isn't carrying that Ace of Swords, who isn't truthful. Giving and receiving help. Money. Money is here. We get the Seven of Swords in the hopes and fears, and that is lies and deceit. And the outcome card is the Prince of Wands. Again, this Prince of Wands is coming up a lot. Movement forward. The Hanged Man. Okay, so there's going to be, eventually there's going to be a ceasefire. US brokered, and a full ceasefire, not just a pause. I mean, the WHO is in Gaza at the moment, trying to get people out of that major hospital, trying to help people who are dislocated, wounded. The death toll alone, when that full death toll is independently known, it's going to shock the lot of us. And we get restriction. Now it's death. Netanyahu and death are synonymous, whether it's the hostages who died from Israeli bombs, the Israeli soldiers in the outposts that were bombed as well, the allowing of Hamas, the failing to protect those originally killed. Netanyahu's surrounded by death. Let's see if he'll be removed. 24,000 Israelis, hostage families and those who support them marching to prioritise the hostage release. Will Netanyahu be removed from office? Will Netanyahu be removed from office? Will Netanyahu be removed from office? Will he be removed from office? Seeing a Five of Cups, death, loss. I'm seeing a fairly steep cliffs and a water coming down between the cliffs. I'm not sure what that is referring to. Two-state solution. Obviously Netanyahu doesn't want that. Maybe that's what I'm seeing. There will be that two-state solution. Will Netanyahu be removed from office? Will Netanyahu be removed from office? There's a great divide in Israel. Justice would tell me he will not only be removed, he will be brought up on war crime charges. And the alchemist, the alchemist magician, these are very strong major arcana. Manifestation of justice is what is occurring now. It's why sometimes we've just got to pause and stop and understand the way the processes work, the way that the universe works, the way that our world works. Nothing is immediate. Everything is a learning, is about a evolution. Whew, the star. I think that what happens to him will give us some hope of justice being done. The King of Wands in the past, I think he's removed. There's growing movement within his own parliament to get rid of him. The Emperor is in the sky. Control the prime ministership, the head person. We get the sun, full illumination. We get the Ace of Pentacles. There's money issues here yet to come out. But this is speaking new starts for families. I do see a big aid package in December for Gaza. The hopes and fears people, the Middle East wants, deserves, needs a new start. And we get yes. And there will be a lot of celebrating in the streets. First, we've got to see the full story. He withheld something. What did he withhold? Now, my original readings show that he's keeping secrets around that original attack. And we get endings. It's very, very clear. He is removed, endings and new beginnings, and we get strength, and then we get the Five of Wands. A lot of fighting at this moment amongst his own cabinet. Three of Wands. I think he is removed, and there will be celebrating in the streets. But first, we've got to come to grips with this terrible, terrible, terrible story. This terrible truth that has occurred in the Middle East from the initial attack, even beyond that, through to the staggering death toll in Gaza. And I mean staggering. We will be shocked, including what has happened to hostages that have been caught up in this bombing. All right, bye for now. I'll see you again soon. We've got good cards here. Good cards here for a lot of things, and also good astrology for the truth to keep on emerging. Bye for now.